rumble.
Oh, it's the disco dance mix version, too. And we're recording?
Mm-hmm.
This is outstanding. Look at us go. Welcome, everybody. This is your average, everyday, weekly dose of monkey business. I am your host. This is Chris, IMC. It is a lovely, gloomy day in June here in the wonderful city of Rochester, home of the Flower City Comic-Con. In the studio with me, as always, is the local radio legend, Billy DeTore.
Hello.
Tanya Metris, who is not a local radio legend.
Definitely not.
And
hi.
and a whole host of others. We've got, Zach, you're going to have to help me. How do you pronounce your last name again? Upsitnik. See, on paper, it looks a lot more complicated than that. Yeah. But we have Zach Upsitnik, who was with us in the general staff. He was helping keep an eye on things in FC3 17. Also in the room today, my two bouncing baby children, Juliana and Ian. Say hi, guys.
Hello.
Hi.
All right, who were basically wandering around having a grand old time. My favorite intern turned staffer, turned intern, turned staffer, turned fired, target dummy and everything like that. Tony Bacchetta is here.
Chris, I have a question for you.
Fire away, Tony.
You're C? I never knew that.
You never knew that I was C?
Who's C?
You haven't been paying attention to that one?
You could always be K.
You're
Okay.
demoted.
No.
Agent C. Da-da-da.
Agent K.
Agent.
And Captain Ray is here today.
Hi.
Got a little captain in you. How you doing, buddy?
I'm tired.
Ray Reyes,
I woke up at like 9
Ray
in
King.
the morning just so I can be on time for this.
the man, the
Woke
myth.
up at 9?
Oh, my
No.
God.
Oh, my God.
That's sleeping in. Wait,
that-
I think that's what time I
Do you
got
know
out of
last
bed,
week
too.
I got up at 2:15 in the morning?
Yeah, because...
How many people were on vacation last week, Bill?
Just Paulie.
Just Paulie?
Yeah.
But that's enough to make your day a
But
lot longer.
that's when Paulie's on vacation.
Yeah.
I'm
Billy's
in.
gotta get up early.
The thing is, I haven't woke up at 9 o'clock since like high school.
Neither have I.
I woke up an hour and I think your high school
seriously got no
career was a
sympathy
lot
for you, Ray.
longer ago than
I
his.
graduated in 1983.
Hey, my high school
I
was
was
about
11.
4 or 5 years ago. I'm pretty old now.
You okay? All right. Also in the
still
studio
angels.
today, you can't hear her right now, but I'm sure she'll probably make a comment somewhere along the line. We raised Mom Ange. Hi, Ange.
Hi.
There she is. And Ange was in our box office. So we've got a big crowd today. And on the phone, last but certainly not least, the box office goddess, the front end overlord herself, Sybil.
Sybil.
Hi, baby.
She got out of the box office this year.
She did. This year, we successfully
I
managed to
did.
figure it out to get her out so she could wander around and see what the hell was going on the rest of the show.
And her and I definitely became queens that weekend.
Yeah, you were both wearing tiaras, weren't you?
Let's go,
Yes.
Queen.
Or was it Jerry the King Lawler's crown?
No, I didn't get close to enough because it kind of scares me.
Well, no, you know what? Meeting Jerry it's great because you see these over-the-top personalities on wrestling programs, and then when you meet them in person, it's like he's an entirely, he's not just a wrestling entertainer and an artist. He's an actor. Because he was playing he plays that part on the screen, and it's just amazing to actually meet him in person.
I loved his panel. I loved meeting him at his table. I loved the phone interview we did with him on the Wii show earlier that week.
Oh, that was phenomenal.
And I don't
I
know.
listened to that.
Was he a cool guy
Oh, yeah.
behind the scenes too?
Oh, yeah.
Easy to work with and all that stuff.
Tanya's coworker Sean was his PA for the day on Sunday that he was there, and Sean he's not the most outgoing guy, but he's kind of level. He's very easygoing. He's very low key. But to see the smile,
He was a kid in a candy
he
store.
really was a kid in a candy store. He had a great
Because
time.
he's a comic book nerd.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
He loves that stuff.
Absolutely. So what are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about the 2017 show. As we are recording this, the 2017 show was 2 weeks ago. We were getting ready to close it up 2 weeks ago
Wow, it was
today.
already 2 weeks
It's
ago.
already been 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It's amazing how time
I
flies.
thought it was last week.
And we're gonna.
I know, right? I thought
and
it
we're
was
gonna,
last week, too.
Exactly. And in a couple of days, this podcast is going to go out. We're going to have Dan jump the schedule, so it's going to go out this coming Wednesday. So we're going to be talking about our thoughts 2 weeks after the fact. So it has been 2 weeks, and time flies. But we are. It's kind of interesting how the dust has finally settled on this. And we got a good look at the 17 show now.
Billy asked if I got any sleep in the last 2 weeks. I said, I've slept a little bit, but I said that he'd have to throw the question out to Chris.
You know, it's kind of interesting that you should do that because I have been using the health meter on my smartphone a lot more over the past couple of months, the step counter, things like that. And it has actually been recording my sleep patterns, which is weird because it'll ask me in the morning, like, did you fall asleep? What time did you fall asleep? What time did you wake up? How do you rate your sleep? And I'll do that. And more often than not, I'll punch everything in and then I'll, like, within a couple of seconds, I'll get hey, you woke up on time. Congratulations. That's the most encouragement I get from my smartphone.
No.
Today, I got an actual assessment report, and I look at the assessment report, and I pop it open, and the first thing I see is, wow, you didn't sleep very well last night or this week, did you? So yeah, it's kind of appropriate that you bring that up because no, I've been a ragged zombie for 2 weeks.
I could tell.
It's true.
Yeah, and the kids are like, yeah, the mornings are treacherous. What is this? Oh, this is cool. I like dice. All right, I'm not going to play with that right now. I want to play.
Is that a metal
squirrel.
dice?
Yeah, squirrel.
Metal dice Dungeons and Dragons.
There you go.
Edition.
So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the show from the inside. You know, we've gotten a ton of great comments from people, constructive criticisms and compliments and some, and there's a couple of trolls out there who decided they want to have some fun and try to make us, feel bad about ourselves. And they failed because we're already feeling bad about ourselves to begin with. No, I know.
Sucks to suck.
Yeah, I know. It's so hard to insult somebody with depression because they're like, what the hell? I don't care. I already think worse of myself than you think of me. So it's all good.
Screw you. I'm already sad.
Exactly. Seriously.
My depression kicked in when I was 13. Get over it.
There you go. So we're going to share some of the comments we received from our ticket holders. We're going to share some of our thoughts over the next 45 minutes or so. And then we're going to talk a little bit about what some of this has convinced us to do for next year. And we are already deep in the planning for 2018. We do not have a guest announcement at this moment in time. But we're hoping very shortly we are going to probably have something up our sleeve as we speak.
No kidding.
So I can tell you this much about 2018. The show is going to get physically bigger. We are now officially taking over half of the second floor and adding that to our real estate for the first floor of the convention center. The second floor we're going to get half of the Empire Room. And that is where we are going to put the vendors, the artists, and the VIPs. And we might even be able to put a couple of attractions up there, too. Brian is working on the layout as we speak. So the first floor, that which used to be the entire convention, is now going to be the display and activity area. That's where we're going to go from 2.5 panel rooms to almost 4 panel rooms. Nice. We're going to start with that.
I like the
ooh. Thank you, Jules. We are figuring out the original vendor room is the Lilac Ballroom. We're trying to figure out what we're gonna do with that. Although it's looking right now, the front runners, that's going to be where we're going to pull the staging area out of the foyer and put it in the Lilac Ballroom,
like where the wrestling and stuff was.
Yeah,
okay.
But I think we're still possibly
we're going to keep the wrestling in the foyer. I think
okay.
is pretty much what we're going to do because the wrestling program was a lot of fun, and they needed that extra space, and I think the extra airspace because there were some guys flying off the top ropes and whatnot.
I wish I would have gotten out there to see it.
I didn't. I saw some videos.
That's the only thing I saw.
My favorite video was of the guy who got into the ring with the Tyrannosaurus Rex costume, and that was just freaking awesome. That was so awesome.
I didn't see that.
Oh, there's a couple of videos.
There's a video on there.
Jason's got a couple of the videos of that, so that was a lot of fun.
I need to see that.
All right, so just to finish that off, the vendor floor, the VIPs, and the artists are going to be all on the second floor in 2018. And on the first floor, you're going to have the bridge simulators will be back. And we're probably going to we've worked out a deal with the Great Escape Room. There's a possibility that we may even have a full-on escape room on site for the weekend.
And you know what? Wow. Bringing up the Great Escape Room, I went to that demonstration.
Yeah.
And this summer, Susan's brother-in-law, my brother-in-law, and his kid are coming to town, and we're going to the Great Escape Room.
It's an awesome experience.
To bring them is like
so
a
much
fun thing to do.
Hey, you want to call me because I want to go?
Okay.
We've been invited by the Great Escape Room, so the whole board has free access for one run.
Nice.
So we'll go take care of that this summer so we can hang out with them and talk a little bit more about setting that up. So then, like I said, we're going to go from having panel room 1, panel room 2, and then panel room 3 being like the smaller intimate room. We're going to have a panel room 1, 2, and 3 that are going to be full-sized. And panel room 3, what was panel room 3 this year will become panel room 4. And then there's a distinct possibility if we're going to have the space and the staging area is going to be in the Lilac Ballroom where it's going to be a little bit more conducive and it's not going to be as echoey and loud, we may make it like a grand panel room out of that.
For the biggest
games, depending on who we bring in. So we're, also I'm very satisfied with the way that the combination of panel room 1 and 2 on Saturday went. I know it cut down some of our options for programming, and we're working on that. We're going to push the schedule a little bit further towards closing hours for 18, so we can do a little bit more. But I liked because it really worked out for having Colin Baker on hand.
That was a fun panel.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed the panels.
Yes,
Tony, you were my right hand man for the panels. What do you think about panel room stuff?
I liked how we did it this year. I know that we probably can put now that we have the more space, we can probably put more stuff in.
Right.
And all in all, that'll probably come back and help improve our programming.
Exactly, and that's a lot of the comments that Tanya received through our Grotix survey. People were saying that there needs to be more programming, and we agree. We understood that right from the word go. We were just doing the best we could with the space we had.
Yeah.
And we were also trying to keep it so they wouldn't be trying to compete with the Colin Baker panel or the Bruce Boxleitner panel, or like the wrestling on Sunday, because we didn't necessarily want to have people to have to pick and choose.
Yeah. We didn't want to bury panels.
Right.
No,
but also
we're gonna, and in the going forward, we're just gonna have to. I think on a couple of occasions.
Just as someone that's been to Niagara Falls Comic Con and Fan Expo in Toronto, that you wind up doing that. No matter how hard you try, there's going to be
a couple panels
a couple times where you got to pick and choose. I want to go to both, but okay, I'll go to this one.
That's natural things in life that you have to pick and choose whether you're going to do this or do this.
Comic-Con.
Oh, another one,
New York City is insane. If we can match their kind of programming down the road in terms of diversity and
that was so
depth,
difficult to choose because I wanted to go see like Anna Silk and Stan Lee, but they were at the same time. I'm like, Stan Lee's a little more important.
Yeah. Well, you asked me before you went to New York City last year. You were like, I can do this or I can do this, and I'm like, you really want to take an opportunity to see Stan now because you're not going to have an opportunity to see Stan down the road.
He's retiring this year, isn't he?
It was.
Yeah. I think Awesome Con might be one of his last ones.
Yeah. Every year he shuts down a little bit more in terms of region.
It's mainly because this time his wife is jumping in and saying, "Okay, you need to stay home a little more."
Plus, he's 93.
Yeah. What's going on, Zach? Come on up.
Yeah. Right here.
What I heard is, I think at this point maybe he's changed it, but he was just going to be doing one thing a year.
Yeah, that's what I heard. Yeah. But you got to imagine, at what, 94 years old, how many one thing a year is he going to be able to pull off?
Plus, he's got his own con called Kamikaze, I think.
Yeah, he does. He does. I've heard of that.
Chicago, maybe? I forget.
I don't know.
Where.
I thought it was in New York.
Wherever he's based off of at the moment, I assume.
I want to go there.
You want to go? You want to go there, Jules? Why?
Because it sounds interesting.
She wants me and Steph and all the other unconventionals to take her to Niagara Falls.
Is that what you guys are calling yourselves now, the unconventionals?
Yes, we are the unconventionals.
So where we are the Mighty Monkey Corporation, you guys are going to be the unconventionals.
Yes.
Yep.
I like it. I like that a lot. All right, so I tell you what, let's go front to back. We talked a little bit about the panel room, but let's move up a bit. And Sybil, I'm going to put you on the spot, Sweet Pea.
Okay.
Because I'm good at that once in a while. She's like, "Oh yeah, you admit that I'm still here," and
she was sitting back listening.
She was sitting back listening. You had us on mute. So Sybil, from the front end experience, from box office side of things, what did you see? I mean, what did we do better? What do we still need to work on?
Well, honestly, just line management.
Mm-hmm.
We need just one more person to tell people where to go. There was a lot of times of me shouting, "Guys, come on! This is the way you got to go. This is where you have to be." So a little bit more help with that. But honestly, the line's moving much smoother than it was last year.
I will admit, the lines were pretty smooth, but everybody just kept jumping in and out, wanting to cut somebody or something. It's like, no, you got to stay where you were. You left. That means back in the line. You can't just take your spot back just because you went somewhere for 5 seconds.
Okay. All right. We're going to have a new challenge for next year because we're going to be on 2 floors. So we're trying to, this was the first board meeting when we had the other day. The first thing we were talking about is where are we going to put the box office? And, we now have a dolly. All right, everybody. Well, hello, Dolly. Well, hello, Dolly. It's so nice to have you back where you belong. That's as good as it gets right there, guys. I didn't even warm up. I got to sing that with Colin Baker. We're gonna have an anecdote about that song. Yeah, I know he's got a little bit more trained singing voice than I do. But yeah, as we were saying, for 2018, since we're going to be on 2 floors, is trying to figure out how we're going to set up the entrances and exits and make sure that everything is covered and that people can find things easily and whatnot. So we're working that out right now. We have an idea, but we're not sure how good of an idea it is at the moment. So that's going to be some fun. And Sybil, when we start working that out, you'll be involved, obviously, because it's going to affect your job.
Good.
Actually, even before the box office, one thing we have to do, and it was no fault of anyone in this room, anyone in the convention.
Probably me.
We have to call the people in charge of that run.
Oh, yeah,
and
the
tell
color
them,
run?
and find out, are they doing it? When are you doing it? Don't do it.
I've already had that conversation with them. They always try to be the last weekend of Lilac Festival. They always try to be around the 3rd weekend of May. So we are already ducked out of their path. By right now, we're Mother's Day weekend next year.
Okay.
All right. which, we can actually put a little asterisk next to that. I can't say anything specific at the moment, but that we can put in a word of card subject to change on the dates. We have something in work that we're working on. To be determined right now.
All right, good.
We're working on that.
Because for people that weren't there or people that missed it, just trying to get downtown,
was brutal.
The first morning was incredibly insane.
It threw our whole pacing off because
it was an unexpected wrench in the works.
We had vendors that were still not fully loaded in yet, and then there were things that we wanted to do with the crowd that had already formed for the early entrance.
There was basically a 5K that shut down downtown and kept anyone from getting anywhere near the
convention
where we wanted
center
to be.
Yeah, right. Go ahead.
The place where we had everybody entering near the ticket box office. Me and Jules were talking about it, and we think that should have been the exit. And then where we were stationed near the door that leads to the exit should be the come in.
I'm going to have you show me that when we're talking, and then you got to remember it may be moot because we're going to be shifting box office and stuff around for the second year because we're going to have second floor action.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
we were just remember with that big guy that came in with the with the
guy
Halo
with
suit?
the frost giant and
the frost giant and we had a Halo guy and they couldn't fit through the doors. We had to move a whole bunch of stuff.
Oh wow.
He's talking about where the volunteer office was.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
Office was last year.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. And we're gonna that's definitely an effective point to make. Dolly, how you doing over there, hon?
Wonderful.
Why don't you introduce yourself to the crowd? We're not live on the air, so you can go ahead and say whatever you want. We can edit it out later.
And get right into the microphone.
And you want to get right on top of it.
Oomba. Oh my.
I should turn my text tones off then.
Yeah, you probably should. That's okay. We still love you anyway. Some strange things happen during these recordings.
Yeah, no, my phone does that all the time. Okay.
Da-ding.
I don't know what to say about myself right now other than I am the doctor's companion.
Yeah, there you go. You were Colin Baker's PA the whole weekend long. As a matter of fact, it was kind of wild. Yeah.
You're welcome.
It was kind of wild because we had Dolly sitting with Colin Baker Saturday, and then our plan was to move some people around to keep things fresh and give different perspectives and whatnot. And we sat one of our veteran fellows around with Colin, and Colin put up a fuss. He was like, "No, I want my Dolly back." And I am not in the.
Not Dolly.
I'm not in the mood.
Dolly?
Right, exactly. I'm not in the mood to piss off a doctor. So we gave him Dolly back immediately, and you guys you were an awesome team over there. You guys had a lot of fun over there.
We did.
And then you had Terry Malloy sitting right next to you.
Oh God.
And he is just
you were double Doctor Who.
I'm Facebook friends with Terry Malloy now. Now there's
too.
a sentence I did not expect to say in my life ever. All right, but I'm watching his antics and his observations. He's going around to other cons, and he's also, like me, he has his
very political.
He has his political opinions on his home country of England, and so it's interesting to see that he and I, if we were both countrymen, we'd probably right side by side with each other. It's kind of fun. Anyway, so where do we go from here? We talked about box office. We're talking about box office. Sybil, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
He's playing with the die.
It was awesome that all the badges were pretty much done to begin with, wasn't it?
Mom,
that did help out.
It'd just be nice if you brought them all.
Hey,
Saturday ones were.
Yeah, well, I found them. I really did.
After
along with my Sharpie
on
markers.
Sunday.
Yeah, I found them on Sunday.
So we're going to make sure that we have all of those on site. Yeah, Angie, go ahead.
Here, Mom.
Come on over, Angie. Angie's going to join the conversation for a moment.
Say hi to my mommy.
Hi, Mommy.
Hey. Just for a quick second, tickets and badges will next year be sent to me because I live closer, so that I can deliver them.
Yeah, that's right. Angie was telling me that at the office the next day when I finally showed up, she's like, "Okay, all of your badges, all of your lanyards, all of that stuff is going to come to my house. Okay, so just when you're done with it, just bring it over to my house, and because I'm only 5 minutes away, so if anything goes wrong, she can just duck right over to her place and come right back to the convention center."
Oh, so
9 times out of 10,
i
I'm usually pretty organized by it, and I could have sworn that we had them.
I know, but we always miss
boxes. Yes,
we always miss something.
Missed something.
We always miss something.
But
it's
we had the blank ones, so we had something that was covered. So we had lanyards and things for them. Don't give me that.
Here comes.
You'll never be remembered for what you did right, only for what you did wrong.
Of course. Hey, I'm coming to Pittsburgh to get you, Sybil.
Sybil's laughing her butt off right now. That was a good one.
Come on, you're supposed to support me, Sybil. You're my fellow Pisces. Come on.
Jules, Ian, it was a
It's all
cranberry
about
moment.
Capricorns.
It really was, wasn't it? It was a cranberry moment. Right?
Explain.
My kids, their great grandmother, my grandmother was notorious. My grandmother at Thanksgiving was notorious for leaving the cranberry sauce in the microwave. And inevitably, and we would all forget, but inevitably what would happen is that about halfway, almost 3/4 of the way through dinner, somebody would like, oh, the cranberry, and then we'd run off to the kitchen and find it, and there it is, and we bring it to the dining room table. So we call.
So that's the first one that comes to the table from now on.
Exactly. So what happens is that whenever something gets forgotten, I call it a cranberry moment. So that's what we're dealing with right now. A box of the badges got left behind.
We just call it a Cito moment.
A Cito, because is your memory like mine? It's just a big block of Swiss cheese?
Oh, that's because of my meds, but yeah.
Yeah, well, for me, it's just because I'm an idiot.
There's a little bit of that, too.
Yeah, I'm what, second or third oldest in the room?
I thought you had Swiss cheese brain from jumping through time like Scott Bakula.
There you go. See, and quantum leaping.
Mm-hmm. The second I was born, I forgot. Where am I going?
There you go. All right. So we talked about panels. We talked about the box office a little bit. What's in the middle? That would be the vendor floor. How do we like the vendor floor? How did it work?
The vendor floor. Okay. So
Shh. Hey.
Microphones pick up things.
Like sounds.
My poor kids.
The vendor floor Saturday was pretty good.
Yeah.
It was a lot of people were wondering where what the comics and stuff were.
Yeah.
Because once you enter through the where's that area? Where the wrestlers was in the video games.
The Galleria.
Okay.
The Galleria, yeah. Once you enter through there, all you see mainly is like, the plushies and stuff. So everybody's looking for the comics. They think it's gonna be like front and center.
Right. Well, we look at the vendor floor layout, so it's diverse, and not everything is comic book vendors side by side by side.
Right.
It's to get the flow of traffic going all the way through. I know First Print Comics was on the first row, and then there was Pulp Nouveau comics that were right below the VIP row.
13th Verse was down on the main floor, right?
Right. They were all on the main floor.
We had 4? Did we have?
I think so.
I think we had 5.
We were
5 or 4.
4, yeah.
4 or 5.
I just can't remember all of them because I'm not a huge comic book aficionado.
Yeah.
So
how are you here? I'll just play with you.
You're fired.
I'm Tony now.
Billy could answer that more because you're a comic book aficionado. So chances are you would have found all the comic book vendors that were there.
It's not like we're going through. I mean, it was a big room, but it's not unmaneuverable.
No.
It
gives you a chance to look at everything,
right,
and see. And you may find something not comic book related you like, a shirt or a sword or whatever.
Yeah.
Dragon's Head.
It was pretty good because you had. We walked by with my friend Steph, the pirate,
right,
and her and Eric, and we heard some guys having a conversation, and they were talking heroes, and it was an actual decent conversation. It wasn't. One side was yelling and the other one was talking.
Oh, that was the DCU panel.
I was just going to say that.
Yes.
The DCU panel got into
that was very
it was almost
heated.
Jerry Springer.
Yeah.
That was wild.
very heated.
They were actually having a decent conversation and actually, stating why this hero is better and why this hero is worse. And it was nice to see that and not see, well, this hero is better because I say so. Well, your say so doesn't really matter.
But definitely, we're always going to balance that vendor floor to make sure that the vendors and the attendees have an equal chance of finding something that they want. And that they can't live without, such as like Billy's comics or his Flower City Comic Con shirt that he has on today,
which I absolutely love. I forgot to buy one.
Actually,
I
got one of each.
You can buy one.
We'll talk about those in a minute.
I really
Go ahead,
liked how we had the rows for the vendor floor were nice and wide, so you didn't have to worry about jamming traffic.
Exactly.
That the Dalek could get through.
Oh yeah, Dalek.
Yeah, see, we knew that we knew Mark Townsend was going to bring his Dalek with him, so
and
we
chase
knew.
Sybil through the vendor floor.
It chased everybody to the floor.
Oh, there's an adipose in the.
My new stress ball.
There. Oh, that's an awesome
working
one.
your adipose off.
Very nice.
And that's the thing. For vendor floor, and that brings up a great point. The vendor floor, we wanted to keep it spaced out to a particular degree because we want that open path of travel. We wanted to make sure that there was no bottlenecking, there was no clustering, but also, you have basic things like fire code that you have to adhere to, and some conventions in this region do not do that. And so we want to make sure people are safe and comfortable. That's a bottom line.
One.
And it's going to add to the whole overall experience, for everybody. For just, like we said, we want to appeal to the vendors and to the guests because the vendors are just as important to us. Go ahead, Sib.
I actually talked to several vendors, and they said that they really love the layout because they've been to some conventions where they're they're sandwiched in between two people who are exactly the same as they are, and it doesn't help any of them because if you're looking for one thing, you see three people there, you're just going to go see one because it's right there next to each other. But if they're spread around the convention room, you actually go and visit all of them.
Right, exactly. And I remember we had that conversation way back when we first started planning the first show, the 16 show. We were talking about how are we going to set this thing up, and we figured we could do departments, so that you knew you could have your collector who wanted just comic books. You could go to one corner of the room, and he'd have all of those vendors right there around him. And, we talked about that and doing things like that and putting things together like that. But then we realized that what's the point of wandering around the room and maybe exploring something or seeing something out of the corner of your eye that you didn't expect to see? So we made a conscious choice to say we're going to split everybody up. We're going to spread them out. And we're going to keep a limit on things. Well, now with comic book vendors, we're going to probably go for 4, 5 as we grow, 6, maybe even 7 as we go along. We didn't have Cloud City with us this year, but we'd love to have those guys back because they're just so freaking awesome.
Are you thinking about maybe one day having a room for all the comic book vendors one day?
No, but what we're doing we're doing something complete, and I'm glad you brought that up. I'm going to make a quick reference to it. In September, we're going to do FC3 Mini, or it's called FC Mini. Is what we're doing.
I think it was FC,
the Mini-Con.
FCMC.
FCMC, and that's going to be at the Grease Ridge Center Mall in September.
And it's primarily
it's going to be a good
vendors.
old-fashioned comic book swap meet collector convention. It's going to be in the hallway
Billy's
right there.
Woohoo! I'm there.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
I was looking for a certain comic when I was there, and I didn't find it, so I'm hoping to find it again.
Yeah, see, and that's common. That'll happen. Remember when we had the 16 show, we had a lot of people say, well, I was looking for this, and I didn't find it, and so therefore that's why you failed. But guys, did you bother to ask the vendor, hey, do you know a guy who might have it? Or, hey, do you know how I might be able to make those connections?
Last year, there was a particular comic I was looking for and wound up speaking with one of the vendors who had one of his story called his story, set it aside for me. I stopped at the store later that week and picked it up.
And I think that's the other thing that people have to remember is a lot of these comic book stores have that brick and mortar store that they might not be able to get to the convention and be able to staff the convention and their store. If their store is open on Saturday and Sunday, it's more challenging for them to do it. So they're not going to necessarily be able to bring all their issues and clear out the entire store type thing, but it gives them a chance to bring a portion of their inventory, and then you've made a new connection with, say, All Heroes comics or whatever, and then you're like, okay, I'll be down later this week type thing, and that's the thing, to still generate business around Rochester and around our surrounding suburbs.
I just mainly liked looking. I saw a lot of books that, even though I couldn't afford them, I saw a lot of books that I was like, oh.
And then it makes you stop and think of what do I want to save up for type thing, because you see something here like, ooh, could you just hold that for me and I'll be back tomorrow.
Like I wound up talking to the guys from the grading company just about grading comics. I wound up with a great conversation for them for like 15, 20 minutes.
And those guys were phenomenal.
Yeah, you talked to them too?
Yeah.
I talked to them about my Stan Lee comic.
Yeah.
Because right after I got it signed, I was supposed to get it graded, but it was like another $150.
Oh, jeez.
So I was like, hey, if I bring this tomorrow, how much will it be? And they told me the same price. I'm like, I like it in the case that I have it in. It's beautiful. It just sits there and it looks at me, and I'm like, hi, how you doing?
A lot of the vendors were actually just happy with us in general, because I like to chat with people. So I went around and asked them how their experience were. And I've seen some of the other cons, and they've told me like they enjoyed our staff and they felt comfortable. They were very pleased with how we ran the con, and they definitely will be seeing us again.
Good.
My wife made almost like best friends with that Dottie Kins shirt lady.
Oh,
the
shirt
she's
did she
awesome
buy?
though. I love Dorothy. I love Dorothy. Zach, do you want to jump in? Come on in.
People were shocked that it was our only second con.
Yeah, we get that a lot. Go ahead, Z.
Well, another thing about the shirt lady, who was fantastic. If you don't end up buying something, you can a lot of them I know had cards, so you can take them, and a lot of them have either brick and mortar or online.
Exactly. So this was an opportunity to introduce you to people.
I was going to grab a shirt, like that 3D shirt. I don't know if anybody saw it or not.
Yeah, I think I know which one you're talking about.
It was
so cool.
Amazing. So you grab a card, and then it's like, oh, well, I didn't get it there, but
I can get it down the road.
They have a storefront. Go check it out there.
Yeah, we don't get a cut. So it doesn't matter to me if you buy it at the convention or not.
I was talking to a lot of the vendors too, and every one of them was like, "Oh, this is great," Like, I'm having a blast. I'm moving product.
That's all that matters.
Yeah, that's all that matters.
Like one of our vendors was saying they made back twice their vendor booth fee in the first half hour of Saturday.
Wow. Yes.
Wow.
I saw Sean a couple days, both Friday and Saturday, and we were talking about the vendor floor and things like that. And he said that was the one thing that the vendors were amazed at is that our volunteers were like willing to sit at their booth so they could run and grab something to eat if the little maid cafe people weren't able to get around to them.
Oh, that was fun having those girls and that one guy doing
go
that.
to the bathroom and things like that.
Yeah, we had maid cafe going on.
But it wasn't like your traditional.
I want to see you in a French maid outfit, Ray. That would be scary as hell.
Whatever you want.
No, dude.
It wasn't the traditional maid
We're not doing
cafe
a horror show here, man.
It's not something that we really knew much about.
But now we know how to use that resource better.
Adapted, improvised, and overcame.
And they were so helpful.
And they were amazing. And a lot of the vendors were like, "Oh my god."
Where'd we get those from?
I'm not exactly sure.
I know them as students at RIT. Not sure if that's where you guys found them, but
I think they found us.
They came to us.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that was cool.
Oh, that's pretty. That's awesome.
I love it. Yeah,
they're all students at RIT. I know that. I know them.
So we know more for next year.
Yeah, we got a better connection with them now, and now they know what we're going to expect, and we know what they're capable of.
I'm pretty sure they're all based out of the RIT cosplay troupe.
Good deal.
They're awesome.
Good deal.
Okay, Ian, I think had something.
Ian, you had something you wanted to say. Bring it on.
All right, back to the conversation where they felt like we would talk to them. I'd usually go around because, well, I'm not a volunteer. I would just, know the man who...
He's got the family connection.
Yeah, family connection. I still walked around, made sure everybody was working, making sure they needed anything. If they needed anything, I'd point them to an actual volunteer, not like me because I'm useless.
Oh, don't say that.
I'd table
Don't
sit.
say that. You're
Did
only
you table
partially
sit for
useless.
anything?
Yes.
You did?
Yes.
So.
Yeah, he did. He's good at that. Well, he's got a special connection with some of the friends in the
dragons over there.
No, this is like a poker die. It's cool because there's full rays.
Did you bring Walter with you?
I didn't bring Walter. It's in the car. Walter's in the car right now.
I can
Walter's
go get him.
He needed a vacation. I wore him out.
From Breaking Bad?
No, my fidget cube. I named it Walter on the fly.
You did not meet Walter on Facebook?
Okay. Well, there's a whole story there somewhere along the line.
Yeah.
I own a fidget cube.
Walter attended the convention.
Yes,
too.
I own a fidget cube. Its name is Walter, and
Walter almost died.
The hell
we have
out.
to get an emergency helicopter in this.
Yeah, I was bringing Mercy Flight. But yeah, our fearless leader, the guy at the top of the food chain, Dan, our president, he has been a diehard Disney fan, and I know I've made mention of this on several occasions in other podcasts. He's been a diehard Disney fan since we were kids. Right?
I think before conception.
But you know what? I think it might. I wonder sometimes if he's not Walt Disney reincarnated.
It could
sometimes.
very well
I really
be.
do wonder.
I love Mickey Mouse.
But the long and the short of it is Dan has always been, he's gone to Disney often. He runs the marathon down there often. But the whole philosophy behind the Disney parks is something he's always stressed to us to emulate. And it's a no-brainer. It really is a no-brainer. It's very easy. And it's just making sure that everybody is on the same page. And I, as right now, one of my jobs is volunteer coordinator. And so I really need to step up my game in making sure the volunteers all have more information, because there were sometimes they got caught with their pants down, and I felt bad about that.
Not literally.
Not literally. Well, during the costume contest, I heard there were some incidents. But the long and the short of it is making sure that everybody is informed, so that any person wearing an FC3 badge or shirt saying staff or volunteer or whatnot, that you can interact with them and get the amount of information you could get from a director. That person can help you. And I've always told my volunteers, again, a no-brainer. A lot of the people that we've brought on staff, you haven't had to tell them this sort of thing. They've been awesome right from the get-go. Like Angie, we didn't really give you a whole lot of information ahead of time. You just parked.
She get a lot of training.
You just told basically this is how you get the tickets done, and this is how you punch it in the computer. And then she has natural ability. I mean, she's great with people.
And she was a lifesaver for me. She is the only reason I was able to escape.
I taught her everything she knows.
Sybil's throwing some love your way right now. I know you're not on the headsets at the moment.
You want to get on? No, you can take me.
Here comes Ange.
Come on.
Here comes the Ange.
I know, and that's the one thing that we know that we have to improve is the communications with the volunteers ahead of time, and getting more discussion with them and getting to meet each other and things like that.
The info desk did not have as much info as it needed.
Really?
What was that?
The info desk. I know.
It didn't have as much info as needed? Yeah. Well, you know what? The info desk
didn't know
Go ahead.
Where does people would come up all the time asking, okay, where do you sign up for the cosplay contest? They had no idea.
Yeah,
That's something that they needed to know.
That was a communications breakdown for us because we were under the impression that a lot of that had been handled and we didn't follow. So we just didn't follow up on it. So that was our bad for dropping the ball on that one. But from here, just making sure that everybody who has the staff and the volunteer shirt on knows the same thing as the directors. So that we can go from there. And we can continue doing that whole checking on the people and checking on the crowd, checking on the ticket holders, checking on the vendors, making sure the people have things going on and that they don't need anything, checking on the VIPs. And I'm going to come over here to talk to Dolly in a minute about VIP row and our VIP liaison, Tanya. Go ahead, Tony.
You want to know what I really loved?
No.
All right.
I don't. Not until you tell me, man.
Well, your eyes are crystal blue.
Mine are shit brown.
Mine are crystal blue.
Family friendly anymore.
Yeah.
I really loved talking to the artists.
Okay.
All of them were really nice, and I was actually able to sit, talk to them, and have genuinely good conversations with them.
Our local artists are amazing. The guys that Judah Nevedonsky has brought to our attention over the past couple of years, like Eugene Commodore, Shane Logan, even your friend there, Doug Arthur,
and then Bill.
And Bill Anderson.
Had a blast, from what I understand.
Nigel Carrington.
Nigel enjoyed himself.
Nigel was a great guy. Nigel's a lot of fun. And then Jason Ferguson's best buddy to the world. The guy's so freaking amazing. And then it's Stephanie Oswald and just all these people.
She was amazing.
She's a doll.
Oh my God! Can I tell you
I
how
love that
much
girl.
she did on Friday as a volunteer before she was her artist presence on Saturday and Sunday? Oh my God. She's just amazing. I would have.
I know I'm missing
lost it
people too.
Before
we also had
Liz,
Rob Dumo and Liz Pritchard.
International
award-winning
She's
Liz Pritchard.
Currently in Taiwan.
Thailand, I thought.
Thailand.
Yeah.
Hey, she run into a local judge.
Her itinerary is.
I guess what I think. I think she's in Taiwan because the judge is in Thailand.
I currently hate all of you for that one.
I think
the power of technology, we can always figure this out.
But the people are amazing. The people that we had working with us and the people that we had on vendor floor and Artist Alley, everybody was just so much fun to be around. I was just having such a great time watching everybody having a great time.
One thing I couldn't even tell you how many times I had to tell people to stop standing on the stairs.
Oh, I know.
People got to walk through.
Yeah.
Oh, we're just looking. No, go look down there. Enjoy the con.
Yeah, well, we had that 2-level vendor floor.
Yeah.
So and we won't have that again going forward, unfortunately, because that's a feature that's just going to kind of fade into the background now that vendor floor is going upstairs. But it was fun to watch people just kind of stop and just kind of stare over the Lilac Ballroom going, wow, look at it all. Well, there's a lot out there. Go ahead. Go explore it.
I'm like, I don't mind. I don't mind if you stand off to the side. But as long as you're not on the stairs, like people through, I'm happy. Nope, they want to stop on the stairs and just admire everything.
Yeah, there was a lot to admire. It was a good-looking show.
That it was.
All right, so let's wander on our way to VIP row. And for that, we're going to talk to our VIP liaison who's texting at the moment.
No, I was double-checking
a likely story.
Facebook, and Liz is in the Philippines and in Taiwan.
Okay, so
but then
in Taiwan.
I came across a picture. It says, how fitting, a Ford toy that teaches you how to walk.
Oh, jeez.
So that's why I had to laugh.
And Dolly Marie over here.
Yes.
Not Donnie Ann Marie, but Dolly Marie.
Dolly Marie.
She's a little bit country and a little bit rock and roll all in one package.
And she's extremely excited because she was a Whovian. And
I know.
And we put her with Colin.
Yeah, we put her with Colin. I was getting thank you notes like every day for about 3 weeks straight. It was amazing. It was amazing. And then she started saying, I'm the doctor's companion.
I
have a ring for you then.
On Facebook that I was going to be the doctor's companion and to come out and see me and Colin at FC3.
Not Colin with Dolly being there. It's come see me and Colin Baker. And Colin Baker.
It's all about the companions, not the doctor.
Next to Colin
it really
Baker.
is. Yeah. The companion makes the doctor.
He is. It really does. It really does. It's gotten just as important.
The VIPs guests that we had in this year were absolutely phenomenal and amazing and things like that.
We've done really good at picking some friendly people.
And even though like all the travel snafus that were happening and that Tom Kane didn't get in until Saturday morning, and he had to be picked up at the airport. And I want to thank Sean, one of our volunteers, that is the gopher, and he does pretty much everything.
He's so tolerant
of
us.
He's like, next time he goes, can you at least put a break in my schedule, please? Because he had like no break in any of his schedule for the entire weekend. He just went everywhere. He was not happy with me, but he does this because he loves us and he's a friend of ours and he does everything for the friend. But he was there. He was getting the food and he was getting other things, and he picked up Tom Kane from the airport, and he was supposed to meet Jerry Lawler at the airport on Sunday at least to get him in here, but then whole travel arrangements for him. And I think that's the most challenging part to this is all the organization and the logistics that's around there. So,
and Tanya, you got to pick up your Red Power Ranger friend, didn't you?
Well, I didn't get to pick him up. I just met him at the airport, and now if I could, no. Well, he actually picked me up in the green room when we crashed into each other. He was coming out of the green one. I was coming into the green room. He's like, "Hey," I'm like, "Hey, if you're going to knock into me, you might as well hug me." He goes, "Okay," and he proceeded to.
Nice.
And it was like not like a 2-second hug. It was like a 10 to 30 second to I don't know how long it went.
She is counting. She is
still happening.
But I walked into the green room and Evan goes, "Man, you're red." I'm like, "Well, the Red Power Ranger just grabbed me." So yes.
I have an amazing story about that.
Go ahead.
But for him, he kept getting a hold of our walkie-talkie radios.
I've heard about that. I heard that.
So what Austin St. John was not only entertaining the crowd and the ticket holders.
He was entertaining the staff.
He would get on staff and he would get on the walkie-talkie range and just start chatting with us. It was just hilarious.
And he thought that we would all stop him.
Yeah.
He was waiting for us
to stop him. He kept looking at me like, "Can I go all the way with this joke?" "Yeah, go ahead. You're not done yet."
I don't think he realized that we're a bunch of misfits ourselves.
Oh, yeah.
And he's
Absolutely.
used to grabbing one of the radios at the larger conventions, and the ones that are like 100-plus radios that are going through, and he will change all the channels.
Yes, and mess them up.
And get to like the security channel and get to this channel. And when he was in the green room, and he was going off and blah, 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 and said his joke, and then all of a sudden he goes, "Security breach, green room, it's morphin' time." Tim Newton from the convention center.
Our convention center liaison comes flying in the
green room.
Oh my God!
And then
hilarious.
it made the connection. He made the connection. What was said after that it was morphin' time.
He ran in and we were all laughing our butts off.
And he's like, "I'm out." And so we have to thank Tim for
being as patient as he is,
putting up with us for the whole
2 years
entire
now. 2 years that man has suffered us.
Now to take this lighthearted conversation and make it serious, which isn't me normally, but the following week there was a security problem at a convention in Phoenix.
Arizona. So, I'm glad you brought that up.
Surrounding, strangely enough, a Power Ranger, and at first I thought it was our Power Ranger, but it wasn't. It was the green.
It was Jason David Frank.
Yes. And there was a man with a weapon looking to do him some harm.
Weapons plural.
He wanted to do some harm to him. So how will this affect conventions in general and ours in particular?
Well,
I'm glad you asked.
From what I read, from what
he's
been posting lately, he is starting to do a thing for all conventions where from now on it's
you got to have a certain level of security.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
he has a Facebook Live comment going to live on June 4th at 6 o'clock Central Time.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean,
he's going to talk about the whole thing,
right?
But his main ordeal is it's pretty much go through this and I don't know, pretty much.
Be safe and secure.
Yes.
Yeah.
I couldn't find the word.
and that's all well and good. And I'm glad you brought that up, Billy, because this is actually a very important thing to talk about. And we're going to reanalyze our weapon policy as well. A lot of conventions are doing it. There's a bunch of local conventions in Western New York that are all beginning to kind of step back and look at things. There's going to be practical, feasible methods to ensure people's safety. Mm-hmm. And we will explore everything we possibly can. Now, we also have to acknowledge that there's a very large and healthy cosplay community, especially in the Rochester-Monroe County area. And we want to be able to respect that when they have these big, obnoxious costume pieces.
And prop weapons.
Yeah, and prop weapons that they're not inconvenienced to the point where it kind of ruins the theme and the vibe of their costume. So there's a balancing act that needs to be done where we respect the ticket holder, but also respect that we want everybody to be safe. And we're going to be taking steps, and we haven't written an official policy yet at this point, but you can expect that we're going to be doing a little bit more aggressive checking of things at the door. We're going to be monitoring things. If somebody comes in with a backpack, we may have to request the ability to search the backpack just to make sure. We're going to say if weapons, if it's an obvious like metal replica piece that you don't bring it in the first place, that you find something that can be a little bit more off.
It's always been shocking to me that some places have allowed real weapons, swords and the such. I've been to Fan Expo a few times in Toronto, and it's never been a problem, but I've always looked at it and go, this could be a problem.
Yeah. Right. Well, we come from an era, especially Billy, you and I, and Zach. I'm pretty sure you're up there with us in terms of age. 35? It's the gray in the beard that throws me off. I'm like older than you by a shit ton. All right. So now I'm going to be, here comes the arthritis again. Anyway, but Billy and I grew up in an era where
we didn't lock our doors.
We didn't have to.
Yeah.
And also you could trust that the guy who has the knight's outfit with the sword, the broadsword at his side, that he's not going to pull it out and start hacking at people. We've gone into an era in this 21st century where you can't trust that as much anymore. And it's unfortunate. It really is a bad apple spoils the whole bunch effect, because I'm pretty sure 99.5% of the people who walk through our door, you're going to be able to trust and understand and appreciate and share things with. But you can't risk that there's going to be that one maniac who walks through the door
and ruins it for everybody.
So what we want to do is create a policy that doesn't ruin it for everybody, but gives everybody the understanding that we want to make sure that they are safe. We're not going to be if you come in and you're doing Cloud Strife from Final Fantasy and you've got the big, really huge, like foam plastic sword, we're not going to ding you for it. We're just going to ask you don't swing it around like a maniac. Just it's part of your costume. We get it. We're going to have somebody check it out to make sure nothing's hiding in it or anything like that, and then we'll move on. Ray, go ahead.
Didn't you have that at the first one?
We did have that we had it at the first two. We were basically trying to, basically our entire weapon policy was don't be a dick. That's basically it.
Don't be stupid.
Don't be stupid. We're going to keep an eye on you, and if we don't, and we told people right up front, if we're not comfortable with it, we're going to communicate with you. We had one guy who did a scary clown thing. I mean, he reached out.
Oh my God!
He reached out to us ahead of time. He reached out to us ahead of time. Said, "Here is my whole outfit. This is what I want to do. Is it kosher?" That was classy. We were like, you gave us the opportunity to comment on it, so we really appreciate that. We're going to ask you to kind of tone it down just a little bit. If there's certain parts you can kind of avoid doing. But other than that, have a great time. Feel free to do your thing, and we really appreciate you stepping up to us. So cosplayers, if you are not completely 100% convinced that maybe one of your pieces is a little questionable, reach out and ask us. Send us pictures. Say, hey, FC3, this is my costume. Is it cool? And we can look and say, hey, can you, or we might just say, no problem, just check in with us at the front gate and let us know so we can let you in. It may lead to a program where we do special passes ahead of time, like pre-screening at the airport almost.
Right.
We can set that up ahead of time where we can get together and we can inspect your materials ahead of time and say, okay, this is all signed off. We'll, put a little marker on it or whatever. We'll put a little peace tie on it or something that's just to see that we've done it. Well, we're going to be flexible. But like I said, and as in everything else, as with the way we approach the vendor floor, as we approach our panel schedule, as we approach everything that we do, FC3, we want to do everything balanced. We want to give you the opportunity to be creative, but we also want to make sure you understand that we're doing the things we do to make sure that everybody is safe. Did you have your hand up, Ray? Did you want to say something else?
Oh, no, I just had a story about Austin.
We'll get to that. We'll get back to
Austin
in a moment.
I'm just waiting.
Because I'm pretty sure everybody at this table has an Austin story at this point now.
Oh, yeah.
So, and Tanya has a couple of Austin stories that didn't actually happen in reality, but they happened in the back of her mind while she's just kind of sitting there staring at him going, oh my God, he's so dreamy.
He is so dreamy. He's so cute.
He's a pocket full of wonderful.
He really is. He is. But Sybil has a couple of great stories about Austin, too. But go ahead, Tanya.
But this does a nice segue into the cosplay contest area and things like that, because there was a lot of feedback in regards to the cosplay contest. And yes, we do admit that we were not necessarily as organized this year as we were last year, and we definitely have to make improvements for that. And we've already acknowledged the fact that the cosplay contest said from 12 to 2 in the program, but what we really need to do, and there was a couple of them in here that were talking about, the schedule said 12 to 2, but it didn't really start until 1:15. And then the other issue was that they encountered was the prejudging of the cosplay contest was listed as if it was the actual contest. So that's back on us to make sure. I think Sybil's breathing heavy.
Yeah,
Sybil, you okay, honey?
Yeah, just little pain from my foot.
Oh, that's right. You had foot surgery recently.
I'm sorry.
We're all sending good love and juju.
So
thanks.
We're already acknowledging the fact that we have to make the adjustments in the programming as part of the programming that the cosplay, it'll be cosplay prejudging on the thing that that the cosplay contest will be from this time to this time, but prejudging, maybe we'll have to make a note somewhere so it's not necessarily that people are not sitting there waiting on the stage for the cosplay contest to start when you need 45 minutes to an hour to prejudge everyone's costumes before they actually go. And that's definitely not my forte, so we'll have to defer to our cosplay
ambassador to the Cosplay Nation,
yes.
Rika.
In order to get that to be a little more flowing, because I know there were a lot of people on the steps waiting for the cosplay, and I at least came through the foyer at one time going, there's way too many people out here, I'm going this way type thing, because there was people in line waiting to be judged, people in line, and they just didn't get to it yet. So,
well, and a lot of the issues that we had throughout the course of the weekend was our own fault. They were our own doing. There was a cock-up in the programming, in the actual structural, physical program itself, the schedule that
didn't get translated well to Sunday that we didn't watch.
Our layout person made a quick shortcut, and it went through 2 proofreadings from the actual board of directors, and we all missed it. So it's nobody's fault but the board of directors. We blew something out of the water there, and so it ended up confusing everybody on Sunday.
And we totally apologize for
that.
Yeah,
I mean, we're going to own it. We learned from that, and we're going to own it, and I'm going to... Did you got a hand up over there? No? Okay.
No,
I saw a hand up over here.
going for donuts.
Gotcha. Donut holes are rolling around the room right now.
You guys are welcome.
Can I just mention real
ahead,
quickly that this is your second Comic-Con? Mm-hmm. And that we rolled in this second Comic-Con like we have been doing this all our lives.
Yeah.
So for errors like that to happen and beat yourself up really bad about it, it's not even worth the time. The only thing is we're to improve and owning it. But so everybody realizes this is the second Comic-Con, not the 99th.
She's her voice of reason more than I am.
Oh, I'm telling you, she's awesome.
That, we went to the hugest one out in New York City, and they had many things that we thought were not up to par, considering the amount of time that they were up and running, and mostly with the organizations and I called it the line-a-thon because it was so difficult to just get to where you needed to go. We had at least 2 pre-lines before we got to the line. I actually slept in a line waiting to get to the next line.
We both did. We fell asleep right in the line.
That's amazing.
This actually ran without a hitch that I think of. We had a little bit of miscommunication, but nothing that didn't dissolve itself right there on the spot. So this is the second annual Comic-Con, and we're going on the third, and I think it was wonderful.
How are we doing on time, Billy?
We're 52 minutes.
Oh, we're cruising right along. Yeah. We'll roll around this one up to an hour. Okay. That's fine. Cool. I'm good at talking, as everybody in the room knows.
Really?
Angie, thank you. That was an awesome comment. That's great. Go ahead.
I like this Comic-Con.
You like this Comic-Con?
Well, thanks. I think we'll keep you.
Thanks.
Well, it's your Comic-Con too now, man.
Wait.
Congratulations.
Does that mean I'm hired again?
You put your volunteer application back in, and we'll see where we put you.
See, Tony can tell you that everybody who gets fired, it's just automatically assumed that you're usually hired within the next 30 seconds.
Oh, yeah. Ray can't be my babysitter anymore.
Ray can't be your babysitter anymore?
No, I'm going to volunteer next year.
That's right. You're going to be 16 next year.
You'll still be watched.
No. You know what the thing is, Jules? This is my daughter Juliana who made that mention right there.
No cosplay contest.
You're going to have to work. You're going to have to be part of things, and I get to fire you now.
Ooh. You've been doing that all my life. I'm not
surprised. It's called I'm grounding you. That's a difference.
No.
You can't really fire her. She's a volunteer. She's not getting paid.
She's a fire second paid. Well, Tony never called me on that. Thank you for feeding him that one.
Yeah, but now he's been promoted.
Well, he's a staffer now, so now I can demote him and fire him. It's awesome.
Yeah,
I got options. It's a golf bag.
A whole
Go ahead.
Feel with this last month that I had to get out, and Comic-Con was the thing that I needed to do.
Yeah.
And
no, you had a rough month.
I had a horrible month, but there was a bright side.
And we brought it to you, brother.
And Flower City Comic-Con was that.
That was it.
Flower City was part of the bright side.
Yeah. Now, go ahead, Bill.
Now, before we started recording, Tanya had some notes. There was a poll up that people. I'd like to know what some of the comments were, both positive.
You know
negative.
what? So we will start wrapping this particular podcast up by firing off some of these comments. Now we got these comments. Dan sent out a survey to anybody who bought tickets online through our GrowTix application. So we got something like
And it's also on our Facebook page.
And it's also been posted to our Facebook page. So even now, if you have comments, we're going to listen and hear. And we've received we've over 200 responses already at this point, I think.
Right, yeah. Right now, on here, it's 191.
Okay.
Plus
so that was
everything that
was when that was printed out last week. So I know we've gotten a couple of new ones. Now these comments, a lot of them are positive. Some of them are constructive. Like I said, a couple of people just felt like trolling us for the fun of it. Yeah. We might even read one of those for the fun of it. But go ahead, Tanya. Read a couple ones off.
The very first one is the construction of the venue was a little frustrating, but okay. And I think looking at the escalator issue in the convention center,
that was rough.
And some of the construction issues are definitely out of our control. But I'm glad that they said that it was just frustrating, but okay. I know that there was convention staff there directing people, saying that you could still use the escalators. It was just a little daunting starting to go down those first couple steps because
of the way they're balanced.
They're balanced. It was kind of weird. Or you could wait 20 years for the elevator to come up and get you.
That elevator in the convention center is slower than Congress.
Actually, can I just say, the construction downtown did us no favors.
No,
not just the race. The race was a pain, but
did you see our new attraction on Sunday? The new,
when they were
the newest attraction
the debris?
outside, when the crane was outside taking the logs out of the river.
Oh, I did see that, yes.
So I actually had posted a picture on our Facebook page to come down and see our new attraction on Sunday type thing.
The deconstruction of Groot.
Yeah. Oh. Where were you on that day?
Oh, we needed that comment 2 weeks ago.
Oh,
that's awesome.
Poor Groot.
That was phenomenal.
But can I tell you, like, even that morning, we're like, whatever. But half of us ran outside to the patio to watch them for like 5-10 minutes because what person, adult, kid, whatever, doesn't like a big truck or a crane or whatever to see what they're doing type thing. So I played it up, and that was one of the things. So,
before you go into the next comment.
Okay.
Go ahead,
I
Rick.
was just agreeing with her. That's
okay. All right. Gotcha. I thought you had something you wanted to add. Go ahead, Tanya.
And we already talked about, and I had highlighted that the times on Sunday were different than in the book, and so people had missed them. And we already said that that's definitely our fault, that we need to double check the program.
Right.
What they would like is a video game room, and that's definitely something that
we're actually working on that.
We talked about that.
Yeah,
yes,
that's something we're working on for 2018.
Yeah, I'm going to try and put a flyer around RIT campus. See if I can get some indie game developers from RIT.
That would be great.
Yep.
I love this. It says, a special treat was the Starship Bridge Simulator. That was unexpected and amazing in capital letters.
Yeah, Rick is awesome with his team.
He's like, please invite them back.
I went in there and I just sat and watched the people do it.
Yeah.
You didn't play?
No, someone said, would you like to try? No, I just like watching you.
We went a couple times and we couldn't get in. There was so many. It was always filled.
I think Rick said there was like only 3 slots that were not used the entire weekend.
And what's Rick's? It was Asteline?
Asteline.
Rick Asteline and the Starship Bridge Simulator folks.
Starship Horizons. Bridge simulators.
These guys are awesome. They were with us first year. They were going to be with us. You know what? As long as we're going to be putting on Comic Cons, the Bridge Simulator is going to keep coming back.
One thing that people would like is descriptions of the panels in the guide, and that's basically...
I had them all written up, but I didn't transfer them to the program, so that was my mistake.
And so that's something that we're starting to do now, is I know Dan has created an FC...
the FC3 2018 board is already open.
Files already open on our Dropbox, so I think he's already created something that says program in there, so... We're going to have to give Tony access to that part of Dropbox.
Tony, once we know the exact layout of how we're going to do things, you and I will start working on panels right off the bat. And then
the descriptions.
Go from there.
So we have the descriptions right away.
And if you ever need help writing things down, just let me know.
Of course.
Someone said to take a peek at Hawaii Con's events program descriptions from 2016 for ideas.
Okay.
So I highlighted that. It's like, because it's a small target con of only about 5,000 visitors, so it's a smaller con like ours.
Okay.
So that's
cool.
I thought was a great thing to do. People are suggesting that we have like one huge current comic artist writer, that it would draw more comic people to the con instead of a lot of littler ones.
We are already working on our guest list for 2018, and we have 1 or 2 people in mind for the comic book artist presentation, and there's some very cool names involved right now.
Somebody did say that they can suggest some people for us for next year to help with the panels. So whoever you were, we'll go back and try to find you. You were number 95 on our list.
We're going to start recruiting volunteers, I think, probably around the end of the summer. We're going to start working on recruiting and requiring and organizing the volunteers right after that.
And as soon as we know the official dates, we're going to probably open the volunteer link on GrowTix so people can just start, so we can start organizing now.
Bingo.
Because the more time that we have, the
better it'll be.
Some people were suggesting that a bigger venue would work. As Chris has already mentioned, that we have half of the upstairs next year. So,
and venue is always a thing. When we started working on the first show 3 years ago, at this point now, wow,
I think it was like 4 years ago, wasn't it?
2014. Late 2014 is when we had our first meeting at your house for the 16 show.
It feels like so long ago.
I know it does.
I actually want to know
how
that conversation started.
We'll tell that story another day. I will tell that story another day. Right now, because
over some wine.
Over some wine. But the long and the short of it is, we did a lot of research on venues right off the bat, and we actually wanted the first conversation we had. We wanted to go to the convention center, but we thought it would be too expensive, and it turned out not being. After all of this stuff, we're like, the most room and the best bang for the buck is going to be the convention center. All right, here we go.
And we looked at like the RIT in Conference Center. We've played around with Rochester Tech Park. We've played around with the Dome
Hyatt,
Arena,
Radisson,
the Hyatt and the Radisson.
But Memorial.
We've brought it back to coming home. That
at
we're
point,
home at the convention center. So we want to keep it downtown Rochester because we want everyone coming into Rochester, because Rochester does have a lot to offer people.
We were actually, at one point, we were looking at the High Falls buildings behind WXXI, but it was not enough space. Not enough space where we wanted to grow. But anyway, go ahead, Ray.
Do you guys ever think once we're further down the line, they'll maybe take over the Blue Cross Arena?
No.
Or do you guys want to stay where you were at?
I want to stay where we are. Well, Blue Cross it's a great space, but it's more for like sporting events and big demonstration events. It doesn't really feel. It's never had the feel.
I don't know how well it would work.
It
out
wouldn't translate for us
because you need the separate. I was just going to say, you need the separate rooms for panels.
And I know that like Twin Tiers or something did it down in like a hockey rink in an arena type thing, and
a lot of people said it didn't feel very right.
It's just
it's got a cold feel to it.
Yeah.
No, that was. I didn't even mean that as a joke.
Where's your rim shot?
Yeah,
there's the rim shot on that one.
It's too late.
It's always too late for us on that.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: we have a plan. We have a business plan. This plan, we do. We've talked about it. You've been in those meetings. Awake, too.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Sometimes.
We have an evolution for FC3 in
Yes.
mind. Over the next few years, we're going to have a building and a half, and then we're going to move to the whole building. So we're going to have the whole second floor at one point or another.
And then when they build onto it,
and there's actually talk that there will be a third floor on the convention center now.
On the Empire the Empire rooms now, the north and south, they're planning eventually on building on top of that.
And we'll take it. And then we also have the opportunity to spill out into the neighbors. We have
the Hyatt.
We have great space at the Hyatt, the Radisson, the Hilton Gardens.
Are within 5-minute walking.
Easy.
They should make one more floor and call it the FC floor.
Well,
just for us.
The third floor for FC3, FC3's floor, FC third floor.
Well, the best part about our con is that you can find the panel rooms.
Yes.
You know where they are,
and
it's easy. Even if I, just came in and I didn't have a guide.
We did up our signage a lot, and we're going to do that more.
Where is this panel? Oh, I'm not exactly sure, but all the panel rooms are right over here. Just direct yourself that way.
Exactly.
Exactly.
And that will definitely help next year with having the whole first floor will be all the activities in the panel rooms, so you really can't get lost.
We're going to increase our signage. We're going to do. Go ahead, Tony.
Really
Tony might
curious.
be able to get lost.
Oh yeah. Well,
I think
Tony's got a better sense of direction than I do. I don't want to hear it. Go ahead, Tony.
Scouts. Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Now I'm
I
just
didn't do that when I was little.
really curious. Can I hear one of the troll comments?
Oh yes, I would love to hear one.
I didn't highlight those, so give me a moment. Talk amongst yourself.
Hi, Tony. How are you?
I'm doing great, Ray. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful.
I'm having another donut hole.
Fellas.
I didn't really mean it like that.
I can't flirt with Tony.
You're both fired. But no, like I said, we do have a business plan. I made mention on a couple of occasions in other conversations that we've kind of started not so much mimicking, but patterning ourselves after the Grand Rapids, Michigan convention, because they've done a great job over there. They just finished their 6th show last year.
They're already on 6?
They're on 6 at this point, and their metro area population is about 1.3 million. And they brought in a box office of 20 to 30,000 people in their last show.
Wow.
That's insane. And they did a great job, and people love that show. So we have a metro area population in Rochester of 1.1 million. So if we can do this, if you build it, they will come. We also have Buffalo and Syracuse within a day's, easy an hour's travel of us. These are having FC3 with a box office of 20 to 30,000 in about 5 to 6 years is not it's not an uncontrollable thought. It's not a pie in the sky kind of a thought. So we are building the show to continue to evolve, to continue to take your comments, to continue to bring things together where it all comes together, if I may fall back on our favorite slogan.
He did a little dance there.
I did a little dance there. I'm doing the Howie Mandel thing. If
we are the water, they are the horse.
There it is. Bring the horse to water, baby. And we're going to continue to evolve and make this thing, every so often we're going to take a hit. We might make a mistake. We might do something we didn't expect to do, and we'll learn from that and move on. That's the way we're going to play this thing. Did you find anything good yet, Tanya? Because I'm vamping my ass off over here.
Yeah, I found a couple things.
All right, fire one off.
The first thing is price of tickets were too expensive based on the amount of vendors and content. The second is the panels were really kind of boring panels. I feel like this con was geared more towards the older generation, so that may be why.
Okay. That's valid.
A husband had purchased a VIP ticket for Colin Baker. Online said that there would be special times for the VIP autograph and picture, but it was just during the normal times. They also said that they could be seated for the panel discussion 10 minutes early, but then got seated at the same time as everyone else just sat in the front row.
Yeah, the combination of the panels. So having to stand in line
for 10 minutes early when you have VIP and don't get VIP treatment seems a little crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So if you pay the VIP price, you should have VIP status. If you have VIP, you shouldn't have to wait for autograph or photo. You should just get an assigned time just for VIPs. And that's something that we have talked about, that things that we're definitely going to adjust. There was a lot of things in regards to the panels and not having anything to do after a certain time, and
late night content, and that's a big thing among the cosplay community. I've noticed is late night content, and this is
a lot of people were asking me about a rave, and I'm like, "There's a rave here?"
No, what there was is and I'll get to that
Friday
in a moment.
night, and they missed it.
Yeah, well, and I'll get to, and we'll start wrapping this particular podcast up on this particular point. So what had happened is a lot of the cosplay kids were used to going out afterwards and doing things more and having maybe even 18-plus content and things like that. We acknowledged that we did the best we could with the resources we have, and this is something we're actually planning on adding on. We do have an idea that we're brewing right now. We have the launch party on Friday night, which was a pretty good success. We were very happy with it. We're going to enhance that. We're going to work on that more. And so that's a bit of more of a bigger event. And then Saturday, we do have a plan in mind right now. I can't go into too much detail at the moment.
But we have a plan.
But we have a plan. We're planning on pushing our actual hours so that we can do more with panels. And then we're going to see if we can push a little bit later into the evening on Saturday so that we can do more with panel programming. And then we're also working right now on a plan for Saturday evening. Will it be a rave? No, it's not going to be an actual rave, but there's going to be an event that will have some offshoot events. It's a nascent idea right now, nascent being just got born, but we want to develop it and work it out a little bit more. You're going to be hearing about it a little bit more because I actually want you to be involved in what's going on in my head a little bit more. I just pointed at Ray with that one.
That's a frightening place to be.
It is a frightening place to be.
I know.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Ray. Good luck with that.
No, it's okay because the best part is my head is probably just as fucked up as his. So
there we go.
Now we're PG-13. Awesome. Thank you, Ray. Appreciate that.
So much for
I wasn't the one who
friendly.
dropped the F-bomb today. Yay! But yeah, we're always going to be working on something. We're always willing to hear your comments. We'll talk more about comments in future podcasts. But I just want to get this one wrapped up. So Billy,
and thank you everyone.
We're getting there, and thank you to everybody here who's been here today. I know a lot of people didn't get to talk too much because when I get going, it's hard to get a word in edgewise. I get that. But
just have to start throwing things.
But for Zach and for Ian and for Jules, for Tanya and for Angie, for Ray, for Tony, for Dolly, for Sybil, Billy, and me, I am Chris. This has been Monkey Business, a product of the Mighty Monkey Corporation, purveyors and founders of the Flower City Comic-Con, coming at you in 2018 with their third show in the spring of 2018. Like us on Facebook, www.facebook.com/FC3ROC. I can do that by memory now. Isn't that great?
That was amazing.